Hello everybody, you have tuned in to Eric Jose on Making a Murderer on YouTube. I cover virtually any aspect of making a murderer. I go over the evidence, the documents, the photos. So if you like, stay tuned, and in the future I'll have many more videos besides the one you're about to see. Hello everybody, how you doing? We're here today because I'm doing another call. It's a call with Miss Georgina Stulen, and she is from Holland, another international supporter who I'm always happy to talk to, the international supporters, just because the passion for somebody who lives outside of the United States to have that kind of passion for Stephen and Brendan, I think is commendable, and it also kind of speaks to just kind of how messed up the situation is that people out in the wider world are taking an interest in it. So it's to me, it's always very, very particularly satisfying to talk to the international supporters, like we're going to talk to Miss Georgina today. She's very sharp, very smart. She's really studied these cases. She actually runs the Dutch support page, and she actually kind of, well, she doesn't translate everything. She doesn't, like, every time a brief or a motion's filed, she doesn't, like, translate the whole entire thing. But she'll translate summaries and things like that so that the people over there can understand it in their own language. Because obviously the stuff is all written over here in America, which is English, and that's not the language, the first language there in Holland, of course. So she translates and does things for them. She's sharp as a tack. And she's just it was an absolute pleasure to be able to speak with her. She's actually had some experience with the, basically the criminal justice system there in Holland, and she was able to tell me a few things about kind of the way it is in Holland, which I thought were interesting. I definitely thought were interesting. And we definitely we ended up getting to talking about Stephen and the CD, obviously. The CD that's been in Tom Fassbender's personal custody for the last 12 years, and what's going on there with the appeals court sending it back to the district court, basically with the note of we are retaining jurisdiction. So yeah, no funny business. Take it serious. So, having said that, let's go ahead and move on into the call with Georgina, and we'll see you at the end. I know one of the reasons why I really was keen to talk to you is a little bit of the same reason why I was surprised to see the international supporters that were at the rally, and to see the support that Brendan has around the world is a pretty significant thing for me. I mean, he's got people that are pretty passionate about his cause on every continent, and so I wanted to talk to you because obviously you're from outside the United States, over in the Netherlands. And you have some unique points of view because of the way that the juveniles are treated in your justice system over there. And yeah, I'd give you a chance to talk about that as well.
Okay. Would like to very much. I'm still doing this conversation. Would you have made a little script, or should I say a script sheet? Because this Dutch, English, Dutch thing is not my native language. So right. Be kind to me, please.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, you could ask me, why is a woman in the Netherlands, far away from Wisconsin, other part of the world, interested in two guys who were convicted in Wisconsin?
Right.
Well, at first it was the MaM effect.
Right.
Everybody else, I was shocked when I watched the documentary. But it was at first. Now I know so much more about the case.
Right.
I'm reading all the things I can lay my hands on, and
case documents,
post, Facebook, your videos, and so on. But what happened in 2050? I was in Spain for my vacation. And what do you do in Spain? You walk along the beach, the boulevard, you get a drink, and in the evening, to relax, you take a book. Right. Or you can watch Netflix, of course. And my husband and I are very fond of movies, but also documentaries. And when
Yes.
I saw this notification of a new documentary called Making a Murderer, and I read the content, I was immediately intrigued.
Right.
And so that evening, my husband grabbed a book. I grabbed my iPad. My iPad is like a dog, it follows me everywhere. Put on my phone, and I watched the first episode and a large part of the second episode.
Right.
And oh boy,
Yeah, which is enough to get you mad because you see what they did to him the first time.
yeah, yeah. But you recall the part where they say, "Do we have Avery in custody yet?"
Yeah.
And the breaking news of the human bones who were found on a salvage yard. And for a split second, I thought, oh, maybe he's guilty after all. But at the same time, I thought, no, no, this can't
Right.
be it. There's more to it. It can't. So the next day, I talked to my husband about it. He said, yes, I saw the notification also, but I thought it's just one episode. No, no, there are 10 of them, and we have to watch. Huh?
Yeah.
So I rewatched the first episode together with my husband, and then, yeah, we had trouble to leave our apartment. We want to watch the whole
Right.
thing. Oh, wait,
I, I watched it in 2 days, 5 episodes per day.
yeah, watching, yeah. And we talked about it for days,
Right.
for days. And so when I got home, I wanted to know more about the case. So I searched on internet and, of course, Facebook.
Right.
And then I came across this group, Stephen Avery Project, which
Oh,
was run
yes.
by Curtis.
Right. Run by Curtis, right?
Whatever happened to Curtis?
Oh, he
Okay.
had a family. He had to kind of step
Yeah,
away.
yeah, yeah, right. At first, he was a huge supporter of
Yes, he
Stephen.
was. He was very huge.
Um, but then I came across the family groups,
Yep.
and I became a member and reading all the posts and the different opinions. And then Kathleen Sellner stepped in
Right.
and the ball got rolling.
Yes.
So from there, yeah, like everyone else, I became so much more aware of this whole case.
Yeah.
And
And what's going on actually in the criminal justice
yeah,
system that we may not like.
yeah, it's not an easy case. There's so much
No.
twists and turns. And well, at some point, I thought I have to do something more. So I asked permission to start a Dutch support page,
Right.
which I did.
Yes. I'm part of
And
it.
yeah, and what I do, I update as much as I can. I do a lot of translation,
Right.
articles mostly, not the filings and the briefs. That would be crazy. All the
Right.
documents you can't translate at all. And
Right.
I do a lot of explanation because I worked as a paralegal for over 20 years, and I was employed at the district court at my hometown.
Oh, okay.
So I know a little bit about systems, extensions, lawyers, how they work, and if I don't know or I don't get it, I ask Tracy Strunzy.
Right.
She's
Tracy Struncy. Right.
so it's not a huge group. Let's be honest, it's not a hot issue in the
Right.
Netherlands. It's a group from 130 people, I guess. I'm very happy with it
Yeah.
because supporters are very happy with me translating all this and the explanations.
Right.
Um, so, well, I do my best to inform the Dutch public.
Right. That's cool. And to touch on, your experience with the legal system there, let me ask you this: like, with a kid like if in they're in the Netherlands with a kid like Brendan, if anything like this situation was had happened with some investigators, how far would this confession have gotten down the legal process road? I guess
No,
before it got knocked out,
no, it would never have cut course.
it would have
Never.
never even happened in the first place. The
No, no,
investigators would have
no.
never dared.
He would never have been convicted. I have to say, there's this big difference. We don't have a jury in our justice system.
Hmm.
So I had a little discussion with someone on Facebook who said, "Oh, that's scary, no, no jury." But for me, it's the other way around. And
Yeah.
why? The thought of when I got charged with something, and there were 12 ordinary people who have their fate, in my fate, in their hands. That would scare the hell out of me, because they're just ordinary people. I don't mean that
Right.
arrogant.
Not well versed in the law and that sort of thing. You know.
No, the Netherlands, we leave it to a judge or three judges in some cases. You have the prosecution, you have the attorney of defense, you have the witnesses, presentation of exhibits, but it's the judge who's responsible for judgment and punishment.
Right.
In case of Brendan, he would never ever get convicted because being charged, not, but at a police station, being brought up. In Netherlands, you have to have a lawyer. We have a call service.
Oh.
These knows this. So they're the
fact that he didn't have any representation in the room would have gotten his confession thrown out in the Netherlands?
Yeah, it's no lawyer, no case. Right. The police knows this. So this call service, the police makes the call to the lawyer. Come here, we have someone in custody, you have to come for interrogation. So, and there's 72 hours, and when you're going on the charge, you walk. No bill, nothing, you walk.
Right.
You're out. In Brendan's case, he would never ever get convicted because the judge, no jury, a judge, is only looking at stone cold facts. So there's a lack of physical evidence.
Yes, absolutely.
To court. And there's this interrogation because there was no legal representation.
Right. Yes, there's nobody there on his behalf.
No case. But let's say for some strange reason he got convicted. His sentence, what do you think his sentence would be? How many years?
I would think probably going to be a little less than it was here.
Oh, yes, sure. I'll give you a hint. No life sentence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
mine is no life sentence in Holland.
Probably so probably 10 years?
Okay. 2 years.
Only 2?
2 years. And juveniles don't go to prison with convicted adults. I believe that Brendan was put in prison with convicted adults, rapists, murderers, as a 16-year-old boy. Yeah. In Holland, minors don't go to prison with convicted adults. There's a special institution. They go to school at daytime. They have the opportunity to finish their education. And the hours besides school, out of school, there are laptops. We call this night incarceration. So, but it's only 2 years, and they walk.
So this is what it's like for juveniles in the prison system there, that they're basically really rehabilitating them, really making the honest effort to rehabilitate.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's actually really cool.
I think so.
And pushing them towards computers is the wave of the future. So that's not a bad idea either. So yeah, that's marvelous. Actually, that's what we should be doing with the juveniles. They need direction. They've been getting batted down and told no their whole life. A lot of them, especially the ones from lower income, situations, have been getting beat down their whole life. So, certainly seems like, sometimes the carrot is better than the whip. And so I like that approach. I mean, you want to give them something to help them build tools they can use to move forward in life. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, it's the case for Brendan. The case of Stephen is something else because he is an adult. Mm-hmm. But his sentence would have been 9 to maybe 12 years. Mm-hmm. I think rather it would be 9 years. But in Holland, you're only doing time for 2/3. So it's 9 minus 3 is 6 years.
Right.
So Brendan and Stephen would be home a long time ago.
And I can assume.
Think about that.
Right. Yes. Absolutely. It sounds like you guys have a somewhat lenient. I don't know if lenient is the word, but you're not handing out large sentences, kind of in the way that we are here in the United States, overcrowding our prisons. So, but
no, I think in America it's cut out of hand with all life sentences and so. I think in Holland it also got out of hand because. Sometimes, it's my personal opinion, we're way too soft.
Yeah.
when you kill someone, you don't walk after 9 years or 6 years. Well, it's a personal opinion.
Right.
But for juveniles, I find they need and they deserve a second chance.
Yeah, they're at that young age where they actually can turn themselves around, so it's
Yeah.
worth the effort.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, I think it's safe to assume, though, Holland probably doesn't have a death penalty.
No, we don't have a death penalty.
That's what I thought. Just judging from what you were saying, I figured that was the case.
No. It was since 1948 we don't have a death.
Since 1948.
Only for after the war, World War II, there were 3 death penalties, and then no, we don't.
There were like special circumstances or something.
We life sentences. I've did a little research. Currently, we have 40 people in prison doing lifetime, and life sentence is life sentence in Holland. You don't have any chance on parole.
Right.
You can get out if you can prove you're innocent,
right.
or you can put in a request for clemency by our king, which is rarely granted. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the system. That's
So-
totally from America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah. I mean, obviously, we're overcrowding our prisons here. We could, we obviously need to think about a different way to approach it, because we are certainly, having way too many people in prison. And not a lot of people are finding a way to find a different lifestyle, to get away from the lifestyle of going in and out of prison, which is another part that's a problem, because, when those people are out of prison, they're encouraging or being an influence on other younger guys who are going to end up moving into the same lifestyle. So it's like we need to break the pattern somewhere, and I think the forward-thinking kind of thing like you guys are doing with your juveniles, I think, is brilliant. But I wanted to move on to talk about a little bit about Brendan's case and habeas, at this point. I know that you follow Brendan's case pretty close and everything, and I think we all know that the biggest thing with that Brendan's having to face here is AEDPA. That's the biggest thing that's been smacking him in the face as he's been moving through this process of trying to get habeas relief. And it's probably the biggest thing in his way. And with moving into the Supreme Court proceedings here, I'm sorry, I'm going to go ahead and kind of give a little context to what I'm saying here. But moving into the Supreme Court proceedings now, we're looking for the Supreme Court to make effective change of law. Well, maybe not so much change of law, but so much as a reiterating of the law that they've already made, and kind of putting their foot down and going, look, this is the case. A lot of people keep saying that the habeas case isn't a good vehicle for the Supreme Court to do that. I wanted to know what you think, and then I obviously wanted to give people some of my ideas about that and how I think that that's not quite true. But, I mean, how do you feel like this whole AEDPA thing works? Does it work well? Does it do its job? Is it working against juveniles? I was just curious to have your thoughts on it.
No, it's working definitely against juveniles. Yeah. I don't understand it exactly. It's totally different from what we do in the Netherlands by making laws. It's in the Netherlands. It's how do I say this in English? It's not easy for me. So this whole EADPA thing, in the Netherlands, if it would exist, it would have been out by now, by law. How do you say law?
Right, by legislation.
So,
right.
I don't think people, lawyers, can hide behind something like that.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to want to get at, is that this AEDPA right now, especially with juveniles of limited kind of capacities, it's allowing these states to hide behind this AEDPA, and they don't fear federal habeas relief anymore, because they feel like, because of AEDPA, the federal courts are just going to be like, you know what, it's pretty bad, but it's just not bad enough. Are you kidding? I mean, are you kidding me? That attitude is absolutely just shocking to me. And when you think about it, and this is what I was getting at, is that when you think about it, if the Supreme Court does something here on Brendan's case, and they do something for cases that are on habeas, they are suddenly making the state courts, because you imagine it, the district court makes a decision in a case. Maybe it was questionable. Maybe they should have given more special care to the juvenile who confessed in the trial or whatever. But you know what? They're not too worried about it because it's just going to go to the state appellate court. And the state appellate court, they're just going to be like, yeah, okay, it's good enough. And they're going to just sign off on it. No big deal. The kid's still stuck in jail. He now has to apply for federal habeas relief to try to get any action on whether or not he was coerced. And so to my mind, the Supreme Court making a decision on habeas relief and putting habeas relief back on the books for juveniles of limited capacity, I think is a huge, huge factor moving forward, so that we can put the fear back into these courts so that they don't just think that they can do whatever they want and it's all just going to go on fine. And I think that's why this is huge. And I hate the way people keep minimizing Brendan's case, saying, well, it's just a habeas case. Well,
no.
That makes it huge, in my opinion.
It's a huge case. I think it's going to make history.
Yeah.
I think it will be the turning point in juvenile law in America. That's what I think.
I sure hope so.
And I've got a good feeling about it.
Yes,
and
I sure hope so too. I sure hope the Supreme Court justices see the merits of this, see what these state courts are doing, because you can just watch the state of Wisconsin's, the way that their lawyer, Luke Berg, just argued throughout the whole time. All he did was lean on AEDPA. He just kept repeating to the judges, this is AEDPA, this is AEDPA. He had almost no substance to his arguments. No, I mean, the Supreme Court justices have to look at that and go, okay, they're not even making arguments anymore. They're just saying AEDPA and dropping the mic here, you know?
I'm very weak.
So I really hope that the Supreme Court justices see that. I hope they see the fact that the actual on-bank majority actually misrepresented what happened with the control question, and tried to say that he was affirming his guilt right there when he was only affirming how suggestible and malleable he was in the hands of the inspectors. It's exactly the opposite of what the on-bank majority in the state of Wisconsin says it is. It's unbelievable that is actually put in their decision, and I hope the Supreme Court justices see that too and go,
why not?
What they're talking about here, this is clearly, by my definition of the English language and how it works, this is not what this says. The control question is a debacle.
In the Seventh Circuit Court saw what happened to Brendan, and they sided by him. So why not the justice in the Supreme Court? That's what I'm hoping.
I hope they're going to see the merits here, and I think they do. I think the rescheduling is because they actually want to give it the time that it actually needs, and like they really want to give it the proper attention. I think they know how many people care, and I think they're looking to not just be casual. And I really hope they take it up. Like I said, I mean, I think everybody wants to minimize it, but I think it would be huge for them to open up habeas relief for juveniles, especially ones.
Everyone's trying to minimize it. Who's minimizing his case?
Absolutely, and well, of course, the other side's going to do that, but you know.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah.
You know, that's what they're going to do. But anyways, just so that they're not successful, I like to say my piece there.
Maybe tomorrow we will hear more about the rescheduling from the conference.
Right. Being Monday, yeah. That's the day we're supposed to hear, right? Everybody watches the Supreme Court's document or their website. So.
Well, let's hope it will be June 21st, so the last day of the term, I believe so.
Right.
Otherwise, it's going to be another month, 4 months, 6 months.
Yeah. Oh, even if they take it, But I was here. I saw in a newspaper article they said if they decide to take it here within the next week or so, that it could be slotted for oral arguments as early as like November or December of this year, or possibly early next year, like in January to March or something. So that if it gets taken up, we could be looking forward to the oral arguments relatively quickly, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah. And the case of Stephen, of course, with Kathleen Sellner, going back to the circuit court. and in CD and all the new
Yes. Oh
evidence.
yes. I lo-
The Court of Appeals, they opened the door for Kathleen Sellner.
Oh, they did. Absolutely. Now that CD's got to go back to the district court. They can't just try to kick it out like they did with her original
No,
motion at this point, because the appellate court's going, we retain jurisdiction, though. We're retaining the jurisdiction here.
yeah,
So basically, let's get it right, fellas.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, so I love that. So now that information is going to come back to them so that they can review it, and it's in through the record. Nobody can cry foul and say that the appellate court brought that information in a way that wasn't proper. Nope, it's going through all the proper channels, and that's going to come. It's going to come right through in all the proper ways, so nobody can cry foul. I love it. I just love it.
yeah. I love it.
Kathleen is getting a little bit of success here finally, a little bit of help from the appeals court,
Yeah.
and I love it.
What do you think chances for a new judge?
Yes, and she's filing for the new judge. Correct.
Yeah, what do you think?
Sorry if there's some stuff. Somebody in the where I'm recording has turned on a stereo, so I'm sorry about that.
You think Kathleen Sellner may stand a chance of getting a new judge in the case?
I don't know. You know, Judge
Oh,
Sukowitz handled the flower thing pretty well.
yeah,
She handled
yeah,
it pretty much right. As soon as she
yeah,
saw it, she was like, "Whoa, whoa, get everybody in here, check this thing out." You know, she didn't want any part of that. She didn't want any part of being, drug into any kind of, like, she
good.
was being bribed or influenced. She just didn't want. She wanted to remove any of that right away. So I don't know. Maybe Kathleen Zellner will, but maybe Kathleen Zellner knows something I don't. That will allow her to get a change of judge, but
Yeah,
I don't know. But looking at it from the way I can tell, Judge Suk handled that pretty well. I don't know how I don't know what the percentages of success are going to be for Kathleen Zellner on
well,
her change of
maybe
judge.
it's not only because of Flowergate. Kathleen says there's no objection anymore to hold a trial in the Netherlands. So,
Yeah, that's
mm,
well. If she wants to change the venue, like to a different county or a different state, that would be that's going to be something to see if it's possible. I don't know if it is,
uh,
but yeah, it certainly seems that there in Manitowoc, I mean, Judge Sukowitz may be a by the book judge. I'm not denying that she may be a by the book judge, but she did not fully absorb what was in that motion. I mean,
uh-huh.
that is clear to me when I read her decision and how she was breaking down some of the
Yeah,
sections of it and stuff. When I
yeah,
read how she broke down the Hoodlatch DNA experiments and stuff, I was just like, oh, I got her arguments, but her arguments weren't taking into account the fact that the disparaging distance between the amounts. The experiments were leaving zero point zero 0.07 nanograms. I mean, this is such a minuscule amount of
mm,
DNA that these people were leaving
yeah,
in the experiment. And I'm supposed to somehow believe that Stephen Avery miraculously left 1.9 nanograms on the hood latch, almost 2 full nanograms on the hood latch. How am I supposed to? That was the problem there. That's what was,
yeah,
and it seemed like Judge Suk didn't put that together in her decision. It looks like she didn't put those two things together. So it seemed like she was missing a lot. I don't know if it's because of bias or if because she just was hurrying
yeah.
through it and didn't care and
Mm,
just hurried through it and so I don't know if it was maybe a little bit of laziness, but it does seem like Judge Suk didn't quite fully get it and grasp
uh,
it.
yeah. The difficulty was inside their heads. You don't know?
Yeah, I wasn't in her head, but reading that decision and her breakdown of certain parts of what were in the motion, I kind of was like, did you fully get what was happening? I mean, I was asking myself that about her, so
Yeah,
but yeah.
yeah. Well, we dig deep in this case.
Yeah, we did.
So, um, huh? Reading all thing we can lay our hands on. Um, there's a lot of bullshit also.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love to read Reddit, but there are some posts I think no, this incorrect. This can't be. It's
Yeah, some
truth.
theories are a little bit, too
Yeah,
much.
but
I agree.
some
I
there
mean, I'm
are.
open-minded to some just because there are certain factors that, look, if you show me some more solid proof on that theory, I can maybe go with you. But
Mm,
it's just like with some things, I'm just not willing to run with it the way some people
no,
do,
no,
and I
no,
just
but sometimes it makes you wonder.
do what?
sometimes it makes you wonder when you read
Yeah.
some posts and
Right.
think, yeah, it could be.
Right. Right.
Maybe Kathleen Zelda knows, not by now.
Yeah, I'm sure she knows a few things.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's holding some things close to the vest at this point.
Okay.
Just
Oh,
I mean, if I was her, you don't want everybody to know what's coming. Sometimes you want to have a few things in there that you can throw in that really shock everybody. So I
yeah.
don't know, but she knows what
Yeah.
she's doing. She's
I,
been doing this for a long time. So
yeah. I was really shocked by her brief in I think it was June last year.
right,
Not because of this whole thing on CD and so, but yeah, there were a few things that troubled me, like withholding crucial information about a witness, and I
right,
can't get my head around it. Why? Why are you withholding such significant information? And it could be the key to freedom for Brandon. And then I'm not
right,
judging, but
right.
I can't get my head around it. That's so
Yeah,
that was shocking for me to read this.
yeah.
Hmm.
Her motion, her 1,000-page motion. You mean?
Yeah, I think it was June. Yeah,
Right. It
she
was the 1,000-page one. Yeah, it was. There was a lot of stuff there. There was a
yeah.
lot of stuff there.
Let's
Um,
say
so
for sure.
many, so many, counts of ineffective assistance of counsel, and where she was
Yeah,
getting into Dean and Jerry a bit, and
yeah.
just and it was crazy. That motion was something else.
Mm,
But yeah, I'm happy to see that it looks like the appellate courts could be taking it all pretty seriously.
yeah,
And that's the one thing I love about this move is that it's showing that the appellate court's not playing games. They don't want to be. They don't like the way that the world is perceiving the state of Wisconsin at the moment in
yeah,
regards to Brendan Dassey and Stephen Avery. So it could be that they are at this point trying to step in and overrule the BS. And if
yeah,
that's happening, I'm like,
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Awesome. Indeed. Do you think it's because they already saw the CD? What's on the CD?
They may have. They probably got friends in legal
And that's
circles.
why
They know
they,
somebody who's seen or heard it, most
uh,
likely.
and that's why they made their decision
Who
and to
knows?
open the door for Kathleen Salmer. It could,
I don't know. Actually, it's hard to say.
no, I don't know. I wasn't there, but hmm? Well, I'm glad you did. So,
All right.
John's getting better for Stephen. I
Well,
like your shirt, by the way.
if what?
Your shirt.
Oh, my
By
shirt. Yes, my Control Question T-shirt sent to me by Mr. Capaldi all the way from Scotland. I
the
wore
way,
this the first day of the rally,
oh, okay, yeah, yeah,
and yeah, that was a lot of fun. The rally.
yeah.
There was a couple there from the Netherlands. There was obviously Mark
Well,
Hodnott there from Australia, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of people from out of state. A lot of people from like neighboring states. A lot of just a great atmosphere there. It was awesome.
yeah.
I want to.
I
My only
nice.
regret is that I wasn't able. I wasn't like. I should have been a little bit prepared more so that I could have gone live for like an hour. But it's kind of hard to do that when there's so many people around. I got to get better at what
Yes,
I got to get
sure.
better at being a YouTuber, honestly.
Yeah,
So no, but I'll get better. But I wish I would
yeah,
have done like an hour live feed there and really done a little bit more there. But I did get some cool things over at the salvage yard. Got to kind of tour around the salvage yard and see some really cool things and
mm,
see some things in real life, with
yeah,
my own eyes, which was cool.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, so but the rally was a really great. I love the spirit of supporters. All of you guys supporting them on Facebook. I saw all you guys all commenting and supporting on Facebook, and it was. I mean,
Yeah,
just to see all that coming together and everybody getting along and all that. That's my favorite part of this. So
yeah, yeah.
I wanted to say that before we go, and I hope we do talk again soon.
So,
But because I got
okay,
this music, I think I need to let this. I think we need to end the call.
okay. Um, well, that's what I wanted to tell you about the Dutch justice system and the big difference between America and the Netherlands.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm sticking to the case. I'm a
Happy
supporter.
to hear it.
Stephen Brennan became a part of my life.
Yeah.
Every day I check Facebook, everything. So, and I sincerely hope they will be released one day.
Yeah.
And then I'll come to Wisconsin.
Make sure you let me know. I wanna be there too.
Okay. Hey, thanks.
But we'll have to talk again sometime. I'm
Okay.
sure we'll have some developments here over the next month or two, and you and I'll have something else we can talk about.
Okay. Will do. Thank
Okay,
you.
it's been a pleasure
Okay.
talking to you.
Bye.
Bye bye. So, some interesting things about the Dutch justice system there, huh? I mean, the fact that they are actually trying to rehabilitate their juveniles, like teaching them skills, trying to teach them skills and get them back out, you know, where they can actually serve a purpose and find a purpose in life, and instead of reverting back to old bad habits, which will lead them ultimately right back into the, you know, incarceration again. So I think that's pretty awesome, but I also thought it was cool the way she said they do not allow a juvenile to be interrogated without representation there. It doesn't happen. So that's pretty amazing, because that means then that every juvenile has somebody there to caution them about, look, you know, he can possibly even, he could say to the youth, look, they're asking you leading questions. They're trying to lead you into saying something. I mean, to where that person can sit there and advise the kid, and the kid can have a little bit more of an informed decision of what he's doing. So I mean, I think that's a big factor. I think that's a good thing that they're doing there. And she was so resolute that basically a confession like Brendan's wouldn't happen there. And that's because, I believe, because it would have never happened with Brendan alone there. And that if it had happened without an advocate for Brendan in Holland, then that confession would have never even made it anywhere. Wouldn't have made it in. It might have somebody might have submitted it, but I'm sure it would have been kicked right out, because the law there, she was saying, is pretty clear that the youth have to have an advocate or representation during a interrogation. So it's pretty interesting, kind of a no nonsense attitude there in Holland in regards to, you know, the rights of juveniles, and especially during interrogations, because they obviously clearly understand, just like most other people do, that the juveniles, particularly with mental limitations, are far more likely to falsely confess than adults. So, and I mean, that fact has been clearly established. The Supreme Court has made multiple decisions regarding the fact that juveniles are at greater risk to confess falsely when using the full read technique. They've said it. But because they've said it didn't mean it's just because they've said that, it's not enough. This whole thing with AEDPA, like I said, is acting as this huge roadblock that is basically letting the state courts have the attitude of, yeah, well, we can do whatever we want anyway, because who the heck's going to stop us? And I think that moving forward with juveniles in particular, and that there needs to be a clearer path for juveniles and those of, you know, limited mental, you know, capacities, to be able to find a way to habeas relief to get somebody to take an interest in whether or not they were given special care by the state court. And if it comes down to the Supreme Court requiring, in the cases of juveniles, basically in all juveniles, that now the courts do have to write a certain whatever, you know, a certain amount to just illustrate that they considered, weighed, and ultimately decided, and how they came to the decision. If that's what it ends up being, then, you know, that may be that might be it. We'll have to see what the Supreme Court says, obviously, but I think the biggest thing that could happen here is that it could put the fear of consequence back into the state court system, so that they take the whole special care in juveniles more seriously. So that's about it, folks. We'll see ya. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe.